Greetings. I am Emily, a 26-year-old woman passionately dedicated to my professional journey. Currently, I cohabit with my spouse, John. Lately, my contemplations have gravitated towards initiating a family. However, John, ever the proponent of prudence, insists on prioritizing the establishment of our abode before embarking on the journey of parenthood. Undeterred by my yearning to commence familial bliss promptly, John maintains a steadfast commitment to accumulating resources for our future dwelling. This divergence in our aspirations has left me grappling with a sense of resignation, recognizing the necessity to intensify my efforts in contributing to our shared financial goals. In the year of our matrimony, a discernible pattern has emerged within our relationship dynamics. John, regrettably, exhibits a consistent tendency to marginalize my perspectives, a trait that has persisted since our courtship days. While I initially admired his unwavering convictions in the context of matrimony, fostering mutual respect for each other's viewpoints is paramount. The disheartening reality unfolds as I find myself reluctantly acquiescing to the notion that our union might be encountering turbulence, exacerbated by the subtle influence of John's nearby parents. A mere short drive away, they seem to cast a shadow over our decisions, with John justifying frequent visits under the guise of financial prudence. However, this recurring pattern raises concerns about the stability of our marriage, creating an undercurrent of uncertainty that requires delicate navigation. I've discovered he indulges in drinks with his coworkers, conveniently omitting these expenses from his frugal calculations. It's perplexing how stringent he is with me about saving, yet lenient with himself. His frugality extends to trivial matters like conserving hot water and turning off lights prematurely, directives he imposes solely on me. If only he extended the same standards to himself, perhaps our relationship wouldn't feel so one-sided. I would be seething with anger. However, he seems to believe it's acceptable to impose his ideas on others. Every week when we visit his parents' house, a new problem surfaces. "Hasn't it been a year since you got married? We want some good news soon," exclaims both my in-laws, putting immense pressure on me. Glancing at John sitting beside me, I can tell he's glaring disapprovingly. It's evident he wants to say, "Don't say unnecessary things." While I share the desire for a child, John insists on building our own home first. It's entirely inappropriate for my in-laws to pressure me to have a child in this situation. Rather than advising John, who doesn't listen to my words at all regarding having children, my in-laws persist in pressuring me. Despite wanting to speak up, I'm silenced by their constant pressure for a grandchild. After the meal, John announces, "I'm going out for a smoke. You know, Emily, it seems like you're working, but if you want to be a housewife, you should quit your job and work hard to be a good wife. Maybe that's why JN isn't paying attention to you." It feels as though I'm being told I can't have children because I'm working. Despite my strong desire for children, JN is the one not thinking about having them anytime soon. "Just quit your job already," urges my in-law. I retort, "It was John who asked me to work. Why don't you talk to John first before constantly lecturing me?" Expressing my anger, I continue, "When it comes to having children, I want them too, but it's John who stubbornly refuses to listen to me until we have our own home. Instead of nagging at me, why didn't you make sure to tell your son the truth?" My words leave my in-laws in a state of shock. I excuse myself with a simple apology and leave the table, making my way towards the entrance. The anger within me extends to JN, who leisurely smokes by the entrance without saying a word. I climb into the car. Annie follows suit, casually remarking, "Hey, are you leaving already?" Knowing he would never disclose the truth to his parents, I grew weary of the various things my in-laws constantly told me. I declare that I wouldn't be visiting my in-laws' house anymore, and John widens his eyes in surprise. "Why not? We can save on food expenses, right? You also want a home soon and children, don't you?" he questions. Fed up with the continuous impositions from both him and my in-laws, I snap back. "If it's about saving, I've told you many times that we would save more if you stopped going to drinking parties or smoking. Instead of driving to your parents' house just to save the cost of one meal, why don't you save in that way? Everyone needs a break." Expressing my frustration, I continue, "You keep imposing things on me, like not using hot water and turning off the lights by 10 p.m. You think we can save money without sacrificing anything. If I have to go through all this trouble alone, then I don't need a home. I'm fed up with this. You never sacrifice anything yourself, but you're okay with imposing it on others. He seems to downplay the situation, saying, "It's not a big deal." But I counter, "No, it is a big deal. How much patience do you think I've had all this time?" Moreover, I'm infuriated by his pretense in front of his parents, making it appear as if I were the reason we couldn't have grandchildren. I'm tired of being the only one asked to have grandchildren. It's not me who doesn't want children, it's John. I've been saying it for a long time. I want children soon, so please stop being so angry. Seeing John struggle to deal with my unusual anger brings a slight sense of satisfaction, but it doesn't resolve everything. Unsure of what to do next, I gaze out of the car window, ignoring John. A turning point for us comes a month later when one of my relatives, my father's brother, passes away with several pieces of land, a luxurious mansion, and a lavish lifestyle. My uncle's passing becomes a revelation for John. "Impressive! I didn't know you had such a remarkable relative," he remarks. A few days later, upon receiving news about my uncle's inheritance, I decide to discuss the details with the lawyer in our apartment. Recognizing that it's a matter exclusively related to me and has no bearing on JN, I politely ask him to leave the room, especially since he seems uneasy about the concept of inheritance. After about 3 hours of listening to the lawyer explain the intricacies of the inheritance, I thank him and ask him to leave. However, to my surprise, John, who had been at home earlier, is nowhere to be found. Assuming he had probably stepped out to avoid interrupting my conversation with the lawyer, I start preparing dinner. Little did I know, 3 months later, John approaches me, expressing, "There's something I want to show you," and takes me for a drive. Excitement wells up as we enter a residential area, but my confusion grows when the car parks in front of a certain house. John then presses the intercom, and my in-laws emerge from inside. However, it's evident that this house is not their home. "You finally made it. When are you and Emily moving over here?" announces my father-in-law. He continues, blaming me for being a selfish daughter-in-law and accusing me of always shifting the responsibility for having children onto John. I shoot a disapproving glare at John, bewildered as to why he brought me here when I had clearly stated I wouldn't visit my in-laws anymore. Searching for an explanation, I question him, and he simply shrugs, stating, "Don't get so angry. If we live together, we can bridge the gap between you and my mom. Besides, this will be our new home from now on, so you should cooperate on the children issue as well. Live together." His revelation leaves me in disbelief. I hadn't agreed to living with them, especially after explicitly stating that I wouldn't go to my in-laws' house anymore. The situation is further complicated by the nature of the house. As John discloses, it's a 2-family house. My plan was always for us to live with my parents eventually, so what's the problem with living in a 2-family house now? He asks. The question lingers in the air as I mull over the situation. Living in a 2-family house seems to be a significant issue, especially when considering our savings. According to our financial situation, building such a splendid new house is seemingly impossible. I can't fathom how John managed it. "My dad and I chipped in the money, so our savings are empty, but it's fine, right?" John casually mentions. His nonchalant attitude perplexes me. He continues, "I heard your uncle's inheritance was worth $690,000, so if you use that money to repay us for the cost of the 2-family house, it should be fine, huh?" I'm taken aback. The idea that he believes my inheritance should be used to fund the house without my consent baffles me. Even if I were to inherit the money, how I used it should be my decision, not his. Frustrated by my rejection of their proposal, JN reaches into his bag and pulls out a pre-filled divorce form with his name on it. "Your money is our money. If you don't like living together, let's get a divorce," he declares. I take the divorce form from his hand, expressing, "Fine. If living together is the alternative, then divorce is the better choice." Firmly placing the divorce form into my bag, I turn my back on him and my in-laws, who look stunned. Ignoring their reactions, I continue, "By the way, I renounced my uncle's inheritance." John freezes with a bewildered expression. Without waiting for a response, I take a bus and head home to our apartment. Upon arrival, I promptly fill in my name on the divorce form, which already has John's name on it. I then submit the divorce papers and immediately purchase cardboard boxes at a home improvement store to start preparing for the move. Recognizing that I can't handle the move alone, I hire a moving company. Fortunately, not many moves are happening during this season, allowing for a quick relocation. As I pack for the move, a commotion outside the front door indicates John's return. I have the chain lock on and I address him. "Sorry, I don't know what you might do when you're so angry. I need to finish packing for the move. Could you stay at your parents' house for a few days?" He declares, "I won't accept a divorce." Widening my eyes in surprise, I remind him, "But you handed me the divorce form, didn't you? If you sign the divorce papers, that means you agree to the divorce, you know." Astonished, I question whether he truly understands the implications of what he has done. He frowns, appearing frustrated, but quickly changes the subject. "Why would you give up on a $690,000 inheritance? Normally you'd inherit it," he questions. It seems he has overheard some details about the inheritance but hasn't grasped the full story. After learning about the $690,000 inheritance, he had rushed to my in-laws, and they impulsively purchased the two-family house without considering the consequences. I explain. "The inheritance discussion came to me because there wasn't anyone else to inherit it. My uncle had 3 sons, 2 daughters, a wife, and grandchildren. However, all of them renounced the inheritance, so it ended up coming to me. My uncle did have $690,000, but he had to demolish his mansion, spend a lot on maintaining his land, and had plenty of debt. I realized that renouncing the inheritance was a better choice than inheriting it." John is in disbelief, exclaiming, "No way! So even if you had inherited $690,000, you're saying there wouldn't have been much money left? That's fraud." I explained that the lawyer and I had a proper discussion about it, but someone had eavesdropped and left before hearing the whole story. My words leave him speechless, and perhaps he finally realizes he was in the wrong. However, I assert, "It's too late now. You betrayed my trust. We've already filed for divorce, and you and I are no longer a couple. Why are you subtly saying you don't want to divorce now? If you truly didn't want to divorce, you should have followed me right away when I returned, shouldn't you?" I remind him of the consequences of his actions, emphasizing that his mother's opinion about the divorce doesn't change the fact that he and his father had invested in the two-family house. His mother's lack of experience with work didn't allow her to fully appreciate the value of money. I sigh, realizing it isn't my role to listen to his complaints about his parents. If we were still a married couple, I might have entertained the conversation. However, "You haven't submitted the divorce papers yet, have you?" he pleads. "If you do it now, we can still be a couple. Please, let's live together in that two-family house. I've already submitted the divorce papers, so it's pointless now," I reply. His expression slumps in front of the apartment door, appearing bewildered and lost. While I believe he brought this upon himself, I can't let him linger outside forever. Briefly considering sending him away, I realize I have no time to waste, so I continue with my preparations for the move. After a while, he is gone, and I proceed with the move. I inform my workplace about the divorce, especially since my boss had acted as our mediator. Feeling obligated to apologize for the divorce, I also share the news with my coworkers who had been invited to our wedding. During lunch break, unexpectedly, Heat bursts into my department in front of my coworkers, claiming, "It's absurd that you're talking about the divorce. I wish you hadn't mentioned it." He discloses the situation in his department, assuming I had inherited an estate and suggested buying a two-family house. When faced with the choice between divorce or living together, I chose divorce. Consequently, he finds himself being avoided by everyone. I even receive sympathy from colleagues. Eventually, he quits his job. During this time, a male colleague confesses to me, saying, "I've actually liked you for a long time. I hope to build a home where we can communicate as a couple and work things out together."